Hi, everybody. Welcome. To Conversations with Calvin, We the Species. It's almost the end of June, and looming ahead is July 4th. And every interview I do is unique and special. And this is very unique and very special to me for reasons which I'm going to tell you. I'm with Chryssy Robinson, who is a branding expert. Actually, this interview, Chryssy Robinson, creating a strong brand that's built to last. And I'm so glad we met. It's one of these like cosmic events, the perfect alignment of the stars and the moon, because branding and why this is really important to me, and it should be to everybody. Branding is such an important thing in life, uh, because branding is part of who you are, and
Mhm.
and everything in life that you do is a sale. Um, and you don't realize that, but everything in life is a sale. Even when you're among friends, you want to go out to eat. Oh, I want to go here. I want to go there. Somebody's making a sale, and part of that sale is branding. But quickly, I discovered the importance and the relevance of a brand about 11 years ago when I decided to become a journalist, and I knew enough from my time at Luxottica Group, 25 years there, that branding is very important. And again, that's why I'm so thrilled that I met you, Chryssy. And so 11 years ago, in trying to come up with a brand for myself, and I was completely unbranded. I put this hat on, and that became my brand. This Rutgers hat, and I've worn it basically 24/7. I take it off at night to go to sleep. I couldn't wear it to my son's wedding. I wasn't allowed, but otherwise I wear it to everything, and people expect it. So that and I would take an hour. We don't have an hour to say how my branding has transformed my life beyond, and that's why I'm so glad that you're here, and we're going to talk about branding, because whether you're in business or not, you're branding yourself.
Yep.
So this is the official end of my monologue. So, Chryssy Robinson, I'm thrilled that you're spending some time here. So how about a little intro and a little bio, and then we'll start talking about branding.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a brand strategist and I run a creative agency. So I'm a creative director there. So I focus on brand strategy, which is a little bit different than like graphic design and creatives and such. We're more focused on the strategy side of the truth is when it comes to branding, you have a brand whether you like it or not. Right. So the brand is just what everyone believes about you. It's the experience of you or your entity, if it's a company, but we all have a brand, right? It's how people experience us. And so what brand strategists do is we try to basically do gap analysis. What do you want people to feel, think, believe? And how can we set some type of strategy across? So now this is kind of an alignment. So we're not magic makers. We just more are really good at getting into our client's mind and their vision of how they want to show up, and then creating a plan of action to actually start getting this out. But it's not magic for sure. We pay attention to analytics and stats to see if we're hitting the mark or not, if people are responding to the changes that we're making, regardless if it's with a client or again, we have personal brands. So even your own brand, how do you want to be perceived? How do you want to show up in the world? So that's essentially what brand strategy. Everyone needs to think about their brand. So I love that you even talked about your own brand and how that kind of came about. Everyone has one, whether you like it or not. In the example you used about going to go for a dinner, if you always pick Chinese, then your brand is, oh, they love Chinese food. Like you have a brand. And so I help people bring it to life.
That's great. I should say, well, I'll say it now, and at the end, there are two sites. We'll have all those sites. www.kolor, KOLOR ADDIKT,
Mhm.
and the other site we'll talk about is Bish, BAWSEBISH.com. So you gave us a quick overview. What do you do?
Mhm. So with brand strategy, essentially, it depends on the problem we're trying to solve. So sometimes it's a matter of like marketing and sales, and sometimes it is condensing brands. So a lot of us are multi-passionate, right? And so we have all these ideas and things we want to do. And so we'll have all these different things, and we don't quite know how to bring them all together in a way that doesn't overwhelm people. So I essentially help people be more consumable in a way that makes sense.
Like that.
So yeah, I help make you more palatable so that people can pick up what you're putting down, and more importantly, that they're able to tell others about you. One of the things I see people struggle with most is trying to communicate, which is the messaging in your brand, trying to communicate in a way that now I can take that information and tell other people. This is where people really need to start thinking about, especially in the online place or space, because let's say I'm not the right client for you or the right audience member or the listener, if I know what it is you help with, and I can, tell someone else. That's what we love to do as human beings. We are the connectors. We love tying threads. So naturally, if you can communicate clear and concise, where people can at least pick up what you're putting down, then you're a happy camper, right? I'm going to be telling other people, oh yes, you should join this show. Or, oh yes, you need to connect with Calvin. He's great at this, right? So as long as you find a way to make your messaging kind of somewhat concise and direct about what it is that you do, you'll be happy forever.
I love listening to, I mean, I never knew what I was doing when I threw that hat
Mhm.
on my head. I didn't know what I was doing. It just seemed like a thing to do. But I've
Yeah.
come to learn how important it is. And again, that's why I'm so thrilled we're talking. So if I had to ask you, what is your like specialty in what you do?
I
Um,
would say my specialty in when it comes to brand strategy is getting, specifically with entrepreneurs, getting them to focus on how to utilize their brand to get them results. So that's kind of in that messaging, how to take something that feels complex and boil it down real simple. So one of my most favorite things to do are brand decks, which essentially solve a particular problem, whatever the company is struggling with. And so my favorite problem to tackle is when, like myself, for example, I have multiple companies. How does Kolor AddiKt and Boss Fish and Empower Black, that's something that's new coming. How does all these things tie into each other? And that's called brand strategy. How can we be known for one, two, three particular things at one given time? It is challenging. I
yeah.
will say that, but I like challenges. So that's my specialty. Is the more complicated brands, and that's necessarily like straightforward.
Um, it's interesting. As I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, and again, I love this stuff, talking to you about this because, I lived it. I still
Mhm.
live it. And
Mhm.
I realize, I ain't no genius here. Um, and I don't have any billboards in Times Square. But I realize just how important it is. Um, what would you say? And I know it's got to be so. I was in sales for 25 years, so and sometimes I'd have the greatest thing in the world to sell, and nobody would respond, and I would like go crazy. What would you say is some of the biggest challenges that you have in conveying to a client? What is it? What is, I mean, to overcome these, I guess, resistance. I guess it's client resistance. What are some of the biggest challenges you face?
When it comes to branding, I would say the number one challenge for sure is people. So a lot of us think that I see two ideas, right? Some people think, well, my brand is its own thing, so I don't want to really worry about my personal side and I want to hide behind a camera or behind my computer screen. And then others think the opposite, where it's all about me and all the certifications I have, all the degrees I have, it's all about them. My biggest challenge is getting people to come somewhere in between, right? Because while yes, you are very important, who's more important is the person you serve. Whether you are a business, a nonprofit, a brand, it doesn't matter. You are serving someone. right? So what's more important is getting my clients to understand their audience, their customers, their listeners, their subscribers, their followers, because they are listening to them for a reason. And unfortunately, when you have either mindset, you're focused on all the wrong things, right? You're focused on getting more people, even though you have thousands of people who are tuned into every word you say, right? Or you are focused on, showcasing yourself in a way that doesn't really even align with what they need or what they want. So it happens very often. I'll do like website audits or social media audits, and you either talk way too much about yourself or no one knows who the hell you are. It's never like a nice, don't get me wrong, it can be, but for most people, it's never in between. It's always one or the other. You're either telling how great you are to the world, but not telling the world why they need you. So that's my biggest challenge, is trying to get people to come in between, finding that healthy balance.
I understand that. Huge, getting people to visualize and see. And I'm listening to your words, and I'm saying, yeah, I can see that, only because I sold, and I was a regional manager for 25 years, and I know the obstacles. Before we go on, I just have one of my favorite off-topic questions to ask, and you do not have to answer it. You may answer it. It's completely off topic, but I get a kick out of it. And here it goes. So, Chryssy, excluding family or friends, somebody living or dead you'd like to spend a day with. It could be a couple too. There's no rules here.
The person that came to my mind immediately is Iyanla Vanzant, because I love her approach to tackling deep-rooted problems. I'm a very deep person, not so surface level. That's why I can think about like the customers and the clients and stuff, because you are surface level. We're all surface level. But I love her approach, and I take cues from listening to her, and how she really listens. She makes people feel, heard, seen, valued. And that is all that branding is. So I would definitely, not even from a business context, would love to just spend the day with her and be in her energy, see how she talks to her team, see how she talks to her family. Like, that would be great. I love that question, by the way.
Oh, thank you. It's my favorite question to ask, because it's, I mean, there's so many different directions you can go. And I tell people, you want 3 or 4, there's no rules, and it really kind of makes you think. And even though I ask it, I couldn't answer it myself, because there's just so many people that pop into my head.
You need a room full.
There's so many people. But anyway, thank you. That was so. We're talking about brand. What is a brand?
So a brand is a person's perception or like gut feeling of who you are, what you have to offer, just their experience of you. And you can be an entity, it could be a person, it could be a place, right? You is kind of just a noun, right? So I always tell people, don't take it too literal, because there can be a Chryssy brand, and then there can be a Kolor AddiKt brand, and then there can be an overarching brand, which is all of my companies. So I have a family of companies called Getting Shit Done. That's the name of my family of companies. That's the overarching brand. So there's a culture that exists no matter where you are when it comes to like my ecosystem. So that's branding, is like the experience of it, whatever it is.
Okay. You've probably said it already, but even if to repeat, but why is, I know why in my own little world, but why is branding important for people who think about it? But why is it important?
Branding is important because whether you like it or not, you have one. And so you might as well be intentional about it. So branding has kind of replaced reputation. So when I went to school, we really didn't talk about branding too much. I went to school for business, and we didn't talk about branding too much. We talked a lot about reputation, social responsibility, your core values. It was a different language. Branding kind of encompasses all of that. So whether you like it or not, you're known for something. And again, the you is whatever it makes sense for you, but whether you like it or not, you're known for something. So you might as well be intentional about it, about what you're known for, how you show up in the world. So at a high level, that's the reason everyone should be considering it. But in a more like specific way, it's important because otherwise you waste your time saying a lot of things that no one cares about, right? Because you're not being intentional and you're just kind of throwing stuff at the wall, hoping things stick, versus truly understanding why you show up. What are you passionate about? What's your purpose? What do you want to know? How do you want to help people? And if you show up that way, then you'll be able to attract more people to you.
Makes sense.
Mhm.
I have this label as a trick question. How does branding increase sales?
I would say to, if it's a trick question, I would say truthfully, it doesn't. It can help to a degree, right? So branding makes selling easier, but it does not immediately influence sales. So you can be the best person in the world and no one ever buy anything from you, right? And you can be known for all these things, but people still don't. You still have to meet it with some type of sales action, some type of sales activity. But branding does make it a lot easier. If you're known to be fierce and direct and have really great products, then people will buy from you and other people will tell people about you. But a lot of times people think when they invest in their brand in a business that they'll see a direct return on investment, and it does not always work that way, unfortunately. You can have a really nice logo and no one cares. No one cares.
You have this other, go ahead. You have this other fascinating business,
Mhm.
BAWSE BISH, boss.
Boss
Yeah.
Fish.
By the way, you
Mhm.
kind of get in trouble trying to pronounce it. A little bit of a tongue twister thing, but anyway, can you tell a little bit about that? You know, I was it's, you know, it's for entrepreneurs and
Yeah,
et cetera.
absolutely. So Boss Fish is a women's entrepreneur group. It started back in 2019 when I was transitioning into full time. It was like right after, about a year after I was in, and I realized the importance of like-minded community. I realized the importance of being surrounded by people who think like you and also having your same challenge. And so I started it originally in 2019. It was a free group. And then it turned into like Chryssy coaching. And so I transitioned into a paid group. I have 30 members right now. It's a small, tight knit community. It is on Slack. It's not a Facebook group. It's on Slack. We meet at least once a week to kind of chime in and just connect with one another. It's all centered around feedback and accountability. So it's very helpful for, especially if you're just getting started in business as a woman. Sometimes we get in our head, even as human beings in general, we get in our heads about everything. Imposter syndrome is alive in all of us. And so it's really just to show up for each other, because I am a belief of, if you see it, then it will help you believe it, even though if you believe it, you will see it. It's actually the quote. But sometimes what's around you, your environment, literally can push you in the right direction. So if all of your friends are going to the gym, you'll start going to the gym, right? Like it's just kind of what happens. We are very creatures of habit in our surroundings. So it's that type of group and community.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking, I was trying to do my due diligence as a journalist, so I was looking at the site. There's how to write great copy, pursue passion, monthly goals.
Mhm.
Um, uh, I just and really needed, you know, the topics in your community. It's I'm just saying from my little perspective, really needed, interesting site, and we'll have the information for people um, um, to connect and check it out. Um, you know, in listening and all the absorbing, I jotted some things down. My observation, which is completely uneducated, because I told you before I went on air, I don't really know what I'm doing. You know, it's kind of funny. I threw a hat on my head and that's it. I mean, you're like a scientist with the work you're doing, and I certainly recognize how amazingly important it is. And sometimes you got to shake people. Branding is so important. What I did learn, if you wanted to comment, in my own little small world, which is, like I said, uneducated. I don't, like I said, know what I'm doing. But one thing I did know um, is to be really consistent when you're branding, to take that brand and throw it everywhere. Correct?
Mhm. Yep, consistency is key, especially when we're talking about branding, because let's take that Chinese food example. If I order Chinese food once, you don't know me as the girl who loves Chinese food. But if I order it all the time, now I'm the girl that loves Chinese food, right? So consistency is really key. That's kind of what builds your reputation, is showing up consistently and doing similar things. Doesn't have to be the same repetitive thing, but similar things.
Okay.
Kind of being predictable in a way.
So it would be akin to me taking a picture of me like this and throwing it everywhere that I am. So it's consistency, the same picture, the same everything. That's,
Exactly.
yep,
Taking
okay.
your hat as an example, right? That's become part of your brand. It's because you're consistent in it. Had it had been, green shoes, green sneakers, right? The thing is that it stood out, right? Everyone's noticing big, orange R on your forehead. People are going to notice that. But the more that you did it over and over, had you just worn it once or every once in a while,
Right.
would you have had the same brand? Most likely not.
Okay.
So it's about consistency and repetitive. You got to kind of be predictable to people.
Okay. Uh, I agree. And like I say, I don't know what I'm really doing. That's why I was thrilled that we connected and we were able to spend some time. Um, I think we did good. I think we covered what I wanted to cover. And I promised to get you off the air because it took us a while. You're very busy and I'm not, because I just sit in this chair. But I am so glad we met, and
Me
I'm
too.
so glad you kind of illuminated me at the branding. I just, listening to you, I had no clue the depth and the involvement and the importance of branding, and everybody should brand themselves. If you're floating around social media, brand yourself, and
Yeah.
you are a great resource, Chryssy.
Yes, absolutely. And I would just add one quick thing. I would
Yes.
just make sure that if you are on this branding, a lot of people fall victim to trying to be what they see. So they'll see someone like me, right? And they'll try to sound like me, talk like me, do certain things. Be yourself. There are a million, if your name's Jennifer and you are in Kansas, there are a million people who want to be just like Jennifer who is in Kansas. Don't try to be someone else. If you go back and listen to some of even my older content, I sound different. I talk different because I fell victim to those same things because I'm a human being. You have to be you. Now, this version of me is what everyone gets. There is no other version of me. Even my friends, my family, my dog, we all get the same version of Chryssy. And that's how you have to show up every single day. This is you, Calvin.
Perfect. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your passion. And I say this, and we talked about it before, come back anytime, because this is, branding is life and it's so important. And I know the more times you expose people to concepts, and finally it does sink in between the two earlobes. So please come back anytime. And have a great 4th of July weekend, because it's coming up. So thank you so much, Chryssy.